Welcome to Biology of Marine Mammals. I'm Dr. Leslie Williams, and this lecture covers basically the pinniped's diet and niche partitioning as kind of an answer key to a worksheet that you were assigned. So basically, one of the first questions you were asked was to match the dentition to the likely food source. And so this is an exploration of the structure-function relationship where form and function go along. So in a previous lecture, we had looked at shark teeth and how different shark teeth could basically be utilized to exploit different food sources. So in this case, we're going to look at how different pinniped teeth can be used to exploit different food sources. So what I'm going to do is actually go ahead and start with what I think is the most obvious and kind of work backwards from there. And the one I'm going to start with is this one. This one right here is a little weird because the teeth are very exaggerated. They've got lots of little undulations in them, but they don't look very strong. They look kind of weak. So obviously, even though it looks like these are powerful, wonderful teeth, they look like they'd break if you tried to actually eat anything that was hard, like spiny lobster or penguins or seals. So that leaves you with krill or squid. And if you look at the shape of these teeth, if you have a lower dentition that comes up with it, would make really great little spaces in there to help strain out small organisms like krill. So krill is going to be matched up to these teeth. Now, along those kind of same lines, I'm going to come down here to the bottom and look at these teeth. These teeth are sharp and steak-like, but they don't also look very strong, which means that they're probably good for capturing fleshy bodies that are going to be fast-moving. The one that's most applicable to this set of teeth then is going to be the squid, which is shown here. So then we come up to the very top, and we have basically teeth that look very similar to nut crackers or something that you might use to actually crack open crab legs. And so that implies that these teeth are good for crunching hard shells, which means that they're probably going to be related to the spiny lobster, as shown there. And finally, we have these teeth down here, which very kind of resemble the teeth up here, but they're a little bit more robust, which means that they could do some straining of krill, but they're more robust, so they're also going to be able to tear large chunks of flesh. So these are going to be the teeth, actually, of a leopard seal that are good for eating diverse sets of foods, such as penguin, seals, all the way down to krill. Okay, the next question that you guys were asked was to basically draw out food webs and calculate trophic levels of various pinnipeds. And we're going to start with the Antarctic fur seal, which was actually done in a previous lecture as well. So this was your first problem, and this is the basic food web that you want to start with. So we always start with some type of primary producer like phytoplankton. The zooplankton are going to consume that, and in this case the zooplankton is krill, so they assume a trophic level of 2. You've got small and medium-sized fish eating that, and then also squid, and then you have penguins that eat both of those. So fur seals are going to come off a lot of those. You see fur seals will consume krill, fur seals will consume squid, fur seals will consume small and medium-sized fish, and occasionally also eat a penguin. So this shows you the food web, but it doesn't give you the answer to what is the trophic level. In order to address what the trophic level is, you actually have to know something about what percentage of each diet item comprises that Antarctic fur seal's diet. Well, it turns out that krill, squid, and small and medium-sized fish all contribute equally, and that penguins are only consumed occasionally. So really, we can kind of ignore penguins and just look at the others. And when we look at the others, we realize that you're basically looking at an average between 1/3 is krill, 1/3 is fur seal, or sorry, 1/3 is squid, and 1/3 is going to be the medium-sized fish. So it'll be 3 plus 4 plus 4 divided by 3, which gives you a trophic level somewhere between 3.6 and 3.7. Now, I'm not going to do the next two, but I will skip ahead to one that was more difficult, which was the walrus. The walrus has a diverse assortment of foods, including clams, octopus, cod, which are large fish, crabs, and seals. So this was a more difficult one to look at. So we're going to go ahead and, again, start with the phytoplankton, which go to the zooplankton. which go to clams. So we know the walrus will also eat clams. So since clams are going to eat both phytoplankton and zooplankton, we assign a 2.5 trophic level to the clams, which means that walruses are going to be at 3.5 if they're eating just clams. But that's not the only thing they eat. So we go back to the zooplankton and we say, okay, crabs will eat zooplankton, as will small and medium-sized fish. And we know, again, that crabs are a food source of the walrus. So walruses that are eating crabs are going to be positioned at a trophic level of 4. Then going back to the small and medium-sized fish, going back to the crabs, octopus will also eat crabs. And then, so if you have a walrus that's eating an octopus, then they're put at a trophic level of 5. Large fish will eat small and medium-sized fish, so that would be the cod. So the walrus that eats cod would also be at a trophic level of 5. Now finally, we get our seals, which are occasionally consumed by the walrus. The seals can eat small, medium, and large fish, so we'll put them at a trophic level of 4.5, which means the walrus would be at a 5.5 if they were eating just seals. So when we average kind of all of this out together, we get a trophic level somewhere around 4.6 when we look at everything together. So again, you can just take the averages because you're not aware of what percentage of each organism comprises the diet. So if we just take an average, we're looking at 4.6 for the trophic level of the walrus. Okay, so that brings us to basically our last set of questions, which is there any evidence of ecological niche partitioning between the Antarctic phocids, or the Antarctic pinnipeds? And to review from a previous lecture, remember that ecological niche partitioning is when two species that could be in competition decide to relieve competition by exploiting different resources. This can be land or this can be food. So in this case, we're really looking at food. And we really see evidence of ecological niche partitioning for two major groups. We see that the crab-eater seals and the Ross seals, which live in the same pack ice, definitely divide up their food, where we have squid being the predominant food item of the crab-eater seals, of the Ross seals, and then we see krill being the predominant food item of the crab-eater seals. So this very much is an example of niche partitioning. The other example that I asked you to look at was the southern elephant seals and the Antarctic fur seals, which also inhabit the same kind of rocky land. And if you look at the diet patterns of the southern elephant seals, they eat 75% squid and 25% fish, where the Antarctic fur seals, as we just went over, eats about a third krill, a third fish, and a third squid. So clearly there's also evidence of niche partitioning, where you get different niches because they're exploiting different resources. Again, the Antarctic fur seals would be the only ones eating krill, for example, so they wouldn't have any competition there. And then they tend to eat less fish and squid, where that's the only food source of the southern elephant seals. And finally, we get to our last question, which was the leopard seal has the largest distribution of them all. Carefully evaluate the leopard seal's diet to explain how the leopard seal may minimize competition. And when you look at the leopard seal's diet, you realize it's incredibly diverse. They can eat anything from krill to crab-eater seals. So basically, you might imagine that a leopard seal that, for example, is living with a crab-eater seal isn't going to exclusively feed on krill, because that would enhance competition for the same food resource. Instead, they might decide to feed more like on fish, penguins, and of course the crab-eater seals themselves, thus reducing competition between them. In contrast, if you have a leopard seal that coexists with a southern elephant seal, the southern elephant seal is going to sustain mostly on squid and fish, so this might be the leopard seal's chance to eat mostly krill and penguins and things that the southern elephant seal doesn't eat. So again, because the leopard seals have such a varied diet, it gives them that ability to really kind of pick and choose what they want to eat to try to minimize the competition depending on who they coexist with. So leopard seals living with crab-eater seals are going to have a different diet than leopard seals living with the southern elephant seals. And that concludes our little supplement. Thanks.